Why coaching communities are the future of engagement for business coaches. That's what we're discussing on this video training. BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery. And we have an amazing group of coaches scattered all over the country who are working with business owners to help them grow profitability, to help them with their leadership, with their culture, even marketplace ministry as believers, as Christian men, as we come together to really have a heart to help those businesses to grow and to succeed. Today, I'm going to help you just kind of think through what does it look like to develop a group that you would lead, that people would come to, that you would invite. It could be a weekly group, and a community could be a monthly. There's lots of different ways to do that. We're going to talk about that as well. But the bigger point I want you to walk away from here is to understand that when we look at the future, this is being recorded in October of 2024. When we look at the next decade, we see some things that are happening, and certainly communities are not new, but they're by far the future of engagement for a multitude of reasons, which we are going to discuss. The first thing, let's just look at the foundational principles. As believers, as people of faith, we know and we understand that we are designed and we are created to connect and to commune with others. We know that going all the way back to the early church, as Paul encouraged the church to be together, to connect with one another, to encourage one another, to help one another. So we know biblically from a foundational perspective that God's created us to do this very thing. Unfortunately, though, over the years, as especially in the last 200 years, as communities began to get further and further out from cities, when manufacturing and factories started to become a thing and whatnot, it really began to change the dynamics. But we're seeing a shift. We've been seeing a shift for a while. We're certainly seeing it even bigger, which I'll explain. But from a standpoint of faith, number one, super important that we know we're created to connect. We want to understand that. The second thing is, in America right now, there is approximately, according to studies, about 31 million entrepreneurs, all right? And about 55%, by the way, of adults have started a business at some point. So it's a lot of people. Well, a third of that 31 million, according to statistics, are looking actively for a place to belong. Those business owners and people who are looking to grow, to get better, to understand how they can continue to maintain. A lot of them right now want to exit and sell the business. It's a part of their retirement. And think about it. There is, a third, that's 10 million people or so who are looking actively on belonging somewhere that makes sense for them to help them in their journey, okay? So when you look at that, it's an interesting thing. And then here's the other one. Right now, there's around 145,000 business coaches in the U.S. It's not that many. And you think about it, if every single one of those 145,000, if everybody had a group of the 10 million that are out there looking actively to belong somewhere, to be a part of something so that they can grow, every single coach would have over 68 people in their group. What's the point? The point is that there's plenty of opportunity. Well, we know 145 that all of them are not going to create a group. Probably half of them won't. So there's opportunity of those who are actively and currently seeking, much less of those that you can help understand why groups and being connected to others is important. So lots and lots of opportunity. We look at that. This is a big takeaway for you. We look at that from a standpoint of something we call leverage. We already know that we're created to communicate and to connect with one another. Even, introverts and extroverts, sure, they function differently, but even introverts who like to have a lot of alone time still like to belong when they feel, these are their people, this is their tribe kind of thing. So when you're creating a community, when you're creating a group, we already know right now that you can ride the wave of leverage because there's already opportunity, a need, a purpose, a desire that's going on. So it's not that complicated to be able to create one. Now, you got to do it right? You can't just be whimsical about it and loose and unprofessional and whatnot. Those things clearly can sabotage and build a wall from being successful. But you got an opportunity for leverage. So when you look at traditional coaching, all right, and there's There's non-traditional, there's traditional, but traditional, which is probably 80% of how coaching is done, one-on-one. All right, meaning I'm going to work with someone. Well, when you're building a typical business coaching business, you still got to get in front of a lot of people in order to grow, to get clients, regardless if you want 5 clients, if you want 10. You're not going to keep 10 forever. There's going to be a little bit of a churn. If you have 10 clients today, you might have to replace 2 of them next year. So we're constantly needing to be connected to other people. Secondly, we should always have a heart and a desire to expand your network as a coach. If you want to make this, again, looking at the word leverage, it should be a big takeaway. When you're looking at leverage, expanding your network is critical. And when you do it and you're consistent with it, it will absolutely cut about 50% of your prospecting time down, period. Because you're getting to know a lot of other people. And so if you stick to just traditional one-on-one coaching, you're just, everything that you do is one-on-one to one-on-one, the time it's going to take is going to be longer. It's going to feel like an uphill battle sometimes. Now, over years of time, it won't so much, but certainly in the first 2 to 3 years of building your practice, if you're just very solo and alone, you're just kind of making it difficult. Why do you want to do that? Well, as a way to circumvent that, to expedite significantly, groups are absolutely can be the answer. So when we look at benefits, I'm going to state an obvious here, but I just want to make sure that you really understand, again, when you're looking at leverage, when you're creating a community, let's say you have 10 people in a group, and we'll talk about in a moment, it's a weekly, monthly, those things in a second. But when you have a community of people where they're frequent to that group, maybe they're bringing guests to that group, this is where synergy begins to happen, right? This is where accountability begins to happen. There's nothing greater when someone shares inside of a group, hey, this is where I've been stuck. This is what I'm looking to do. I am, there's a lot going on. I just get distracted easily. Here's what I need to do. I mean, it provides an amazing area of accountability. This is also where iron sharpens iron. Inside of a group, we find ideas. Inside of a group, we present a problem and we get multiples of people to give perspective. You're like, I've never thought about that before. And the cool thing is, when you're fostering the group, when you're the leader, now you're being viewed as a leader. Okay? You're being viewed as a connector. You're being viewed as somebody who's making an investment into the community in this way and helping, not just businesses grow, but to helping the business owner individually with their mindset, shift perspective, get connected to other people, and so on and so on and so on. So communities have so much value, and it's really, really important that you understand that it's not just, and this is really important to know, just about getting clients as a coach. As a matter of fact, I think when you have that headspace and that mindset and that attitude, I think it sabotages your true ability to build relationships, to add value, and actually grow and expand your network. Because if all you're doing is creating groups simply just to get a client, most people are going to smell that. Most people are going to recognize it. Most people are going to know it. The money and the clients follow. Yes, you want to have a plan. Yes, you want to have a process, sure. But if that's just kind of, you're hitting people really hard, really quick, too soon, the group likely won't last that much. We'll talk about that in just a second. So we understand that we're built for communities. We understand there's a lot of people looking that own businesses that are looking for community. We understand the power, the purpose of why of connecting, fostering engagement is so critical to learn, to understand, to grow, and to get better. And you get to be the person who is leading that kind of charge. Lastly, before we get into the kinds of groups you can create, we want to. It's an economies of scale. When it comes to building a business coaching business, you look at around, it's like the question is, do you want to constantly always be one-on-one? Nothing wrong with it. It's just the time that it takes to just stay one-on-one versus when you're starting to get into multiples, in front of multiples of people consistently, 10, 15, 20 people, and you're getting connected to all their people, transformation. It's just pure transformation of what it can do to accelerate the growth of your business. So, types of groups that you can grow. There is the typical general networking. Maybe you want to just to create a group You're just there to foster connecting to other people. Sometimes these groups can come in forms of, they're not as much as educational as they are just about getting to know others. And as a believer, you can certainly create Christian-based networking groups as well, just depending upon the style of which you're wanting to do. Number two, leads swap. So you've got a general group, maybe you foster that weekly, or maybe it's every other month. Cadence is up to you when it's all said and done. They all work. It's, depends if you got one that's every week versus once a month. You've just got more work that you're going to have to put into that group to be able to make sure it's functioning and that it's continually growing and it doesn't get stale. Second kind is leads swap. So you've got networking. Now it's not just networking. We're coming here for a purpose. We're coming here that I'm going to provide leads and I'm going to get leads, okay? Third, kind of mentioned this already, is groups that are, faith related, that are going to be more a balance between biblical principles upon, what the Bible says about growing business, making money, encouraging mindset, all those types of things. They all matter. You're still going to talk about, or at least you should, business building principles and how you can grow, challenges of the business and whatnot, but there's a balance to it that's also faith related. Masterminds. These are some of my favorite, to where a true mastermind, you've got, it's usually a locked down size of a group. In a lot of cases, if you get masterminds too big, it makes it a little more complicated, not impossible, a little more complicated. But this is where every week you're reviewing the business. There could be their website, or a advertising campaign they went through, or they're struggling hiring people or whatever. So each week, a new member of that group is going to sit in a hot seat, if you will, and be able to speak to get perspective to learn how to grow the group. Oftentimes, masterminds are paid. I actually would argue that you should charge for a mastermind, especially when you're really, really fine-tuned in the content of what you're going to provide and how that's going to foster. Then there is niche groups, meaning, a leads group kind of is a niche group, but it could be specifically to marketing. Or maybe you're a CPA and you're bringing coaching into your services, right? You could do a limited group, like 8 weeks, if you will, just about P&L study or tax strategy type of thing. It could be if you own a digital marketing company and you're pulling in coaching into your business. It could be an 8-week, or it could be even an ongoing, where every week's you're studying lead generation this week, SEO. The newest thing that Google has come up with or said that you're going to have to change or shift or whatever. Video, how to use video in the business, and on and on and on. As just a general business coach, you could create a 8-week group just all on how to get more customers or how to be competitive. I mean, you could do it a number of different ways. I would make the argument that none of them are really wrong. It just depends upon what you're trying to accomplish. Lastly, you don't want to get lost in creating groups, meaning it happens all the time to where a group gets started. Over time, it just kind of like, so what was this about again? That's the reason why if you create a group that is, the biggest part of it is just building a network. You got to make sure that you have fresh content consistently, regardless if it's a weekly group, a bi-weekly group, a once-a-month group, doesn't matter. You can't afford for the content to get stale, all right? And so there's a couple of things that you could consider in closing, is that maybe you want to test the waters, and maybe a limited 8 weeks type of group is best for you, just to see how things are. And then the goal is, after the 8 weeks, is that you could create a standard one, and you can book people into that, or I say book, you could invite people into that from the current 8-week group, as well as others also. But remember, you're building relationships, you're adding value, you're absolutely finding your clients in these groups, as well as the people that you get introduced to from those groups as well. But when it's all said and done, you have a choice to make. Do you want to continue to just make everything one-on-one? Or do you want to harness the power of leverage, of connecting with people, being seen as a leader in the community, growing your network in a significant way? You think about 365 days from now. If you started a group, imagine the amount of people that you'll get connected with. Imagine the clients that you could get from your groups. I mean, think about just from a financial perspective. When the average coach charges $2,000 per month, let's say that over the next year, you ended up getting 5 new clients from a group that you created. You might get more than that, but that's 120 grand a year. It's no joke. And it's not that difficult to be able to do that when you're consistent with it. And that's what I would make the argument. And even when you get really good at it, then you create multiples of groups. You've got a specific one over here that focuses on this. You have a general one that focuses over here. You have a paid version over here. Groups matter. That's exactly how I built my business early on, is getting people in, getting in front of people. The person with the microphone, sometimes just the prominence, the way that it all works, has an opportunity to add significant value to growing your business. Hope that helps. If you're looking at building a business coaching practice, maybe you've been coaching for free. Maybe you love making an impact. You love to invest into others. You want to grow the profitability or help grow the profitability of a business in your community or abroad for that matter. Guess what? It's an amazing thing to do. Maybe you don't have the resources, the tools, the strategy, the structure. That's what we do with our turnkey done-for-you system that we use inside of our community from Business Coach Mastery. You can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. You'll get there's some resources that you can get there. We can even chat if you'd like to do that, to learn more about it, to see if it would be worth learning more about for you. All right, until next time, take care.